Okay, Genesis chapter 10. We're going to look at a little bit, a lot of names, a lot of people. A lot of them might be familiar, some may not be familiar at all. But Genesis 10 is usually referred to as a table of nations. And post-flood, Noah's three sons had their own family line, family tree. And of those family trees, we have a lot of ancient nations that come from them that become the historical name of the region those sons settled in. And they'll come up later on in Ezekiel and Revelation and prophecies. But for now, it's good to understand the Table of Nations is written kind of historically farther after the fact, because Moses wrote the first 5 books. So Moses is looking back. God's giving him, not only giving him inspiration, but the historical oral explanation has been brought down through the generations to Moses as well. And so when he's writing this down, he's writing it with that in mind. So we have a couple of terms that are introduced: Gentile nations. The land is divided. The nations are divided by language. They're separated. So you kind of have this theme happening in chapter 10. Where do the nations come from? And chapter 11 brings a lot more clarity, but chapter 10 helps establish, okay, these are all the nations that came from the different sons of Noah. So the nation of Israel descends from the line of Shem. And that's where you see the word anti-Semite, Semitical land. That Semite would reference a Jewish heritage. And then Shem's first one of his sons is named Eber, which is also the root for the Hebrews. So if you haven't known that, that's kind of a little nugget. But when you go down through chapter 10, one thing you want to note right away is Cush had a son named Nimrod. Cush is of the line of Ham, and Nimrod is one of his sons. And Nimrod, it says he was, there in verse 8, verse 9, he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. He became a great man. But in fact, it says in the Hebrew text of it, it says he was a hunter against the Lord. He was a hunter for the souls of men. So Nimrod was a great evil man, a forerunner of the Antichrist concept, and he was leading men against the will of God. And he built up major cities. He was the builder of the Tower of the ancient city of Babel, Nineveh, and he was the architect, the main architect and the main leader to congregate people into cities. And we'll see in chapter 11 how God responded to that. So then at the end, you go all the way down, and then there's one other name to make note of in verse 25, and that is Peleg. He is the son of Eber as well. And it says in Peleg means division, because it says, for in his days the earth was divided. Now, some scientists would conjecture that means the landmass is split up, but it also could simply mean that in his day is when the Tower of Babel event changed the languages of the people so that there was now division. There wasn't a unified language anymore. So you think about the family of Noah, all the boys spoke the same language. They all came out of the ark. All the families spoke the same language. And Nimrod is gathering them into these big cities, and the Tower of Babel becomes our significant intersection of this problem of defying God's wishes to go and be fruitful and multiply across the whole earth. So we'll look at that in chapter 11 in a little bit. Enjoy chapter 10. A lot of fun names, some fun names maybe you could name your children even. So take care.